I've lived within about a 4-mile square radius my entire life. Grew up in Moline Acres, went to high school in Ferguson, worked in Hazelwood and Florissant, and came here to Ferguson by choice. So,
if I had had gasoline, then that would have been more.
If I come in and get put in a situation where I would naturally tell a story, that would be the reason above the reason that seems obvious to the people. When you ask what happened to me,
I'm sorry, I don't understand that. So,
right.
if you get put in a situation where you would tell a story,
So, like, for example, when we moved here, we moved into the building where the old Ferguson department store was.
I know that story. Yeah.
Okay. And I was told by the two most important people, which would be the landlord and one of the biggest names in the town, that the building was coming up to code. It never did. And, I brought my children. Now, that was kind of a setup because I wanted to live and work in the same building. I love the building, the old Ferguson department store, but there's human feces in the basement, honey. The roof is caving in from the top, and the guy that owns it owns a roofing company. Now, if you live somewhere where they say, hey, we have no control over that, now that's not moral and ethical living. So, the thing, and I'm kind of naive, my dad was a cop, but he always told me that the slum wards were in the city and they weren't in the county. Well, then I come to a town where there's slum wards running amok, and we have people that need to be taken care of. Right. So that's the way I walked into it at first. And, in towns that are depressed or that are turning to where things could get dangerous, some of the things they limit are like hair salons and cash checking places and so on and so forth. So
that's kind of unique to Ferguson, though. Not a lot
yes,
of
it is.
places put a numerical limitations for those type of businesses.
That's correct. And it would be the same thing as this, because I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole. But let me tell you a current story, okay? You know that we live in the big yellow house right behind the Little Caesars. Okay. And, the night that those fires broke out, it was weird.
About you.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was like, that's where Suze lives. Yeah.
Bless your heart, because, Joe was down at Pope's building defending with a gun because the fire down at the hair Emporium, right by there where the police car, and the fire up at the house were set within 3 minutes of each other, and they were the first two set. So we were actually told to evacuate our home and that we would get paid. And Joe put a camera on him and said, say it to the camera.
Who said that?
Whoever it was in the outfit. They were watching it burn. And I was crying and, hosing down the gazebo and the fence and every other thing. But here's the point, okay? We live on such sacred land here that's full of natural resources. And so we see a corporate takeover of some kind coming in and playing games. And I don't know why there's a lot of corporate interest buying up Clay. I have a lot of friends up on Clay that I get a little bit of information from here and there, but I got off the subject. Let me go back to Little Caesars, okay? When he collected the insurance money and began building, and it's Doyle that runs that building and he manages the Little Caesars. His nephew is a manager. He chose to not put a back door or an emergency exit on the back of the building. And you know, in 30 years of doing business, I've never ever rented anywhere where you were only going to have one way in and out, and you pay insurance to keep your employees and your customers safe. Now, they say that Ferguson has no ordinance saying that you need one. But see, that's the thing that's unique to this town, too. But Elizabeth, what's unique in this town is that rules are interchangeable and slanted. And it's you know, I've known really a lot of good people that were very high up here in this town over the years that I've lived here. And I'd say, now for real, who's doing this? And they really say that it's so high up that they don't have an idea. Some of the biggest people that have left because they wouldn't, like say Joe Krabby. He left, one of the best inspectors the town had. He left because he told him, I'm not going to pass 25 South Florissant. Screw you. Right. And it's been going on ever since. So, you know, what was interesting is I made an iMovie of Janice's grand opening. And of course, since I live there, it wouldn't have mattered if I put that on the movie or not. Everybody that drives up and down the street can see that there is no back door. It's not a secret that I'm blurting out there to the world or anything. It's just a fact, you know. And Janice was so terrified. Janice runs Hidden Treasures, that I invited her to come see the movie before I released it to the world, you know. And I would do the very same for Molly. And then I would air it. I believe somebody must have scared her and said, you better stop Suze from filming, because, see, ever since I've lost the hair emporium, which I was illegally evicted by Pope because I was paying double the money everybody else, Elizabeth. For that little bitty shop I had, I paid $9.50 a month. Now, Honey and Sweeties and Piccolinos both paid $700 a month and had double the space. And see, Pope, he's a good guy, but he's been hurt a lot over the years, and that's why he doesn't mix business and pleasure. But I have always united my business with my personal life because I have ethics that require that, you know. So this whole last year I've been getting harassed because they want to believe I'm running the hair emporium in my house, but you see, Hair Emporium was only a fictitious name. It's a DBA. It's how you pay taxes. So this happens from an anonymous complaint. They send me an unsigned letter. I've spoken to the inspector, who knows I'm not doing anything illegal. But still, I'm written up every month, and my neighbors, who both work for the city, have a disheveled walkway up to their home with bricks strewn everywhere and weeds, but they're never written up. And I won't make anonymous complaints. I'll come straight to you.
Good.
Right.
Good.
Right. I don't play that game. So I've also recently made a little short movie you'll see called Insane Inspections. So the inspector comes. We just cleaned out the sewer at AT&T, which was full of debris. Nobody makes a corporation clean up their property. They blow all the trash over onto an 85-year-old woman's property. And I live next door to people that hate my guts and make my life a living hell. Okay? Well, he comes and he writes me up, and he says it's because I have a marquee hanging on the front of the house. I said, hang on. I said, I've had that. It's my personal property. I've had it for 25 years. He goes, but you had it at the hair shop. And I said, the reason why the marquee's on the house is because I don't have a city plaque. The house is 117 years old. The marquee says the Zingenheim home. Joe and I are caretakers of mind, body, and spirit. We are living and surviving, as far as from what I do, on love offerings and donations. And the only option I had to survive was to take the Hair Emporium to a global online salon where I can help more people. Because honestly, especially after I was treated the way I was in this town, a lot of my clients that drove from an hour away said, screw it, I'm not. It was really hard on them. Yeah. And so I lost everything, but I was given everything too. And so that's the message that needs to be brought now. And of course, me talking is everybody's worst nightmare.